Hi, echoing everybody else's sentiments, my name is Asia Smith. I am currently serving as the head of strategy at the Ebony magazine. I am a strategist and producer. A lot of what I do currently is working very closely with our editor-in-chief on navigating how we are building our brands. I work on a ton of content. I also work on the revenue side of our business, managing branded campaigns, so all of the things that we do with brands and bringing to life that content. But super excited to be here, love seeing all of these Black faces, all of the things, and excited to be back in the States. I recently moved to Mexico City in efforts of, kind of expanding my career across the African diaspora, so excited to be back in the States speaking in front of you guys.
Sidebar, Asia was behind that. Asia was behind that Jonathan Majors Ebony campaign.
Can we take a second?
Just had to throw that out there.
I've been seeing that all over my timeline for all the think pieces, What's up, y'all? My name is Sade, Ndya. I am a freelance cinematographer, signed with Gersh. It's so amazing to see so many familiar faces, some people that I've worked with, some people that have hired me, given me work, and some people that I've been so grateful to mentor over the past few years. And I think for me, I be in my little humble corner just shooting on set, but a big part of my personal come up was really tricky, and it was really hard to even just get in the room and make a name for myself. And so with a lot of my own personal organizing work, I'm trying to work to defeat that and make it more accessible for more of us to be in the room. And so I work with this nonprofit called Made in Her Image. We've taught a mixture of online master classes and in-person workshops in terms of camera, directing, script writing. And we're really just trying to defeat those boundaries, those walls that are built to keep us out and prevent more gatekeeping in this industry. So happy to be here, happy to help. I've been telling a lot of people in the little table sessions that I'm an accessible resource. You're not gonna just see me here today. I'm gonna check in on some of y'all. I wanna see the website updates. So still keep in touch with me and use all of the people on this panel. I've learned so much from Erin, from Anthony, from Dom. I call him all the time for some receipts as well. So it's really important to be in community and share this space with you guys all. Thank you.
I'm filled with so much love, y'all. I'm happy to be here. My name is Anthony Brooks. I'm a cinematographer. I just, what did you call me? What was it the other day you said?
So Brooks,
what was that term?
And we're gonna get into definitely this in the convo. Brooks is a treasure hidden in plain sight. He doesn't do a lot on social media, but he's shooting a lot of dope things. He has a lot of dope clients. The doc series you're doing with Bronny James and Sierra Canyon, I love the imagery from that. I know you're doing a lot of stuff with Passerine, I think I'm saying. Which was Black-owned agency. But yeah, he's so low-key, but he's doing so many dope things. And he's such a good dude. I remember the first time we grabbed tea together and just went for a long walk and just talked about our journey,
Yeah. I fly under the radar a lot, for sure. But a lot of people in here I've reached out to individually. That's sort of the way I've been moving, and I'm sort of in that space now where after having shot tons of projects of many types and shapes and forms, budgets, and all over the place, I feel like there's an experience that I can share in that path that has been forged, and it's still been forging. I'm still in the middle of it, like we all are, and it's wonderful to see everyone here. I hope that everyone feels fulfilled and is going to get something from what we all have to share.
Hello, I'm Erin G. Wesley, cinematographer, and I'm just filled with so much joy to see these faces in the room. I most importantly, like, I want to feel like I'm in the midst of family when I'm walking on set. And in a lot of these spaces, like, I'm filled with anxiety because there's no one that looks like me. So it brings me the most warmth to see all of you who are aspiring and actively working cinematographers. I hope to share as much as I can, things of value that you can use in your own daily lives and careers. Also, first time doing a panel.
Really? I didn't know.
Yes.
Same? Oh, okay. A lot of firsts.
One-on-ones I got, but like this, talking to like a room full of people terrifies me. So give me, grace.
It's all right. We're here to make this a conversation. So I don't think I even introduced myself at all today. My name is Damo Jones. I'm a cinematographer. I work along Sam with Black Behind the Camera as like a programs chair. So with the last few events, I help with the outlines. I help, even if I'm not moderating, I work with the moderator, work out the notes, just make sure we hit certain conversational points. And even with this outline, I sent it to everybody. It was very collaborative because I don't want this to feel like we're talking at you guys all the time. I want this to feel like we're just having a family conversation. And with that said, I think I'm gonna open this conversation up with just asking everybody how important it is to have spaces when you're on set where it is a predominantly Black crew, predominantly Black team, a lot of times making Black content, or even content that's not Black, but just how much psychologically it impacts the work for everybody, from the talent to the producers to the clients to the director. Just how much more is it fulfilling, safe, inspiring. So with that said, I'll start. Who wants to start it?
I'll start, guys. I actually come from the advertising industry and was not initially working on Black content. I just made content, worked with like a lot of baby food brands, like a lot of random stuff like that. During the wake of George Floyd, made a very intentional decision to move to a Black media company, which was Blavity at the time. Because I realized the importance of, us owning and telling our own stories, literally from behind the camera. In the advertising industry, you realize there's, 30, 40, 50 people on set, and you're probably one of 3 or 4 Black people on set, and you're probably not even the person that's making the calls, right? 9 times out of 10. And, even with that move to Blavity, coming out of advertising, I remember my white Jewish CEO at my advertising agency would always tell me, Black people are culture. Like, they set the bar for culture. We just kind of follow it after. And that stuck with me, to be extremely intentional. Like, if I'm gonna run a team and run a production team, I'm gonna make sure that every single person that's working on this is Black. And I'm gonna show brands that when they come to set, they can have an all Black set, and they're gonna see what it looks like, and they're gonna see that it's possible, and then they're gonna see the shift in content and how the content comes together when we begin to tell our own stories and create those narratives ourselves, rather than allowing these brands to develop the narratives for us. And we did some really great work. I mean, we're still doing great work. That still hasn't stopped. We see that in the industry, where branded content teams at media companies are continuing to scale, because these brands know if their story is told through Black creatives, it's going to be that more impactful. And so revenue is continuing to come in on that side of the business. And I know that we'll probably get into this, as a part of the panel, but honestly, the struggle is really finding the people to work on the sets. That's why we're here, yay. But even at Blavity, one of the things that Sankara and I worked on together was setting a goal of having 90% BIPOC crews. 90%, I just want you guys to understand what that means. That means that the director is Black. That means that the coordinators are Black. That means that the writers are Black. That means that anybody behind the camera is Black, right? Maybe the grip is not black, I don't know. But, you know, yeah, I don't know. I'm just, you know what I mean, just trying to mix it up. But, and we hit that goal. And that was a really big deal to do, you know, the type of volume that, you know, is being done at Blavity in terms of branded campaigns. I mean, we're working on 30, 40 campaigns a month and ensuring that every single person, almost 9 out of 10 people that are working on those campaigns are Black was something that, you know, really stuck out to me, making that intentional move in my career and really warms my heart. So to see this many people in the room, it's like, oh, y'all are here. Let's get all the information and make this a little bit easier. So I'm very grateful to see all of these faces in the room.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, I think, to answer your question, I think the number one thing is perspective, right? I think what we find is, you know, we'll work on these campaigns, and what we bring is there's a perspective that having a 90+% of BIPOC and Black and brown people crew, they're just gonna get inherent value out of that, right? We're just not saying that we bring value creatively, right? From your executive producer all the way down to your runners, right? Like there's just a perspective and safety, right? And like anxiety, similar to what you were saying, right? Like being on a panel or being around people that look like you just like sets the tone, you know? Like when you get to set, right? You're like, oh, it's some niggas, right? Right? Like that already like sets the tone, right? It's like, okay, like I can bring my full self to this set and not feel like I can't talk about whatever, and like there's just an inherent safety in that.
Yeah, there's also something else I wanted to add. I work really in music. I actually work in the music industry, but I'm a filmmaker in the music industry, right? So my intersection is a little bit different than, you know, maybe the traditional route per se, but one thing that I absolutely did notice is that the artists will, their performance lacks. I work with pretty all Black artists, actually, all Black music artists. And when their director is trying to pull a performance out of them and they can't even, maybe they can't even say the words, because you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe they can't say the lyrics, or, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, can you put some more oomph in that? It's like, no, I can't. What are you saying? So it does kind of, you know, I think there are two sides of this, and this is also something I wanted to talk about, is that one, absolutely having a Black set with Black artists, creating Black art is important. Because of the perspective, and also because there's a certain level of understanding that there is like an unspoken understanding between the person in front of the camera and the person behind the camera. You want to create that synergy, right? The other part that I wanted to talk about, which is me and Damo have been on sets like this before, where we are the only Black people, or we're working for a white client. You know, that YouTube thing, you know, that was crazy. That was crazy. But I will say that as much as I am a proponent of Black sets and creating those Black sets, we do have to oftentimes go through these white sets. And that, I would actually, I don't want to say argue, but I would say that has also helped me bring all those efficiencies that they have to our sets. Why do we just say that together? I love that. We're tapped in. I don't even know you. We tapped in. But yeah, that's what I want to say.
I would say this is loud. Can you hear me good? Okay, I talk loud. I think for me, it's really just about being intentional, like being intentional with the imagery that's created about us, and it should be by us in itself. Like, it absolutely pains me when I see like a major music video or a commercial of like a Black legend, and like the lighting isn't complementing our skin tones. They're framed in an unflattering way. Like, all of these little things, it's like some of these white cinematographers, they don't put in enough conscious effort, you know? And like, as Black cinematographers, yes, what we do is very technical, but a big part of it as well is like, it's our livelihood, you know? It's affecting perception of ourselves in a wider masses. And so like, I've been on sets like the Hooray sets, like with Isa's company, I pull up, it's all Black people, I don't even have to do anything extra. Like, I already see you someone Black in production, Black in sound, but there are like the white commercials that I do where the only Black people they've seen literally is from my crew. And it's like so much pressure as well, because it's like we're having to adapt to this new environment. And like, for me, I really advocate for putting Black crew forward, but also I also have to take responsibility that I'm bringing my Black crew into these white spaces and like making sure that I'm giving them the proper resources in terms of communication, in terms of gear, in terms of professionality in itself. And I feel like that's been a whole journey in itself. Like, I did this music video for Coco Jones, and we were shooting at this Disney studio. It's like an in-house studio that's been around for a while. And they told me I was the only Black woman cinematographer that's ever shot there. And I'm like, this is a backhanded compliment, because it's like, I don't know, you guys have made so many stories about young Black women specifically, and I'm the first one. That's not something I want to hear. It's not a compliment. And so I feel like for me, like, that's what I'm really fighting to defeat. Me and Erin talk about this all the time. We don't want to be the token Black woman. We don't want to be the only Black woman DP that you've worked with before. You know, we're trying to create spaces for even our people in camera to come up and eventually make that jump to cinematographers. Like, so many people are killing it. Bree, Kalia, like, I've seen their journeys grow from second ACs. Bree had reached out to me on Twitter, and she was like, yo, let me know if you need help on set. And it was this random like narrative project I was working on, and since then she's been thriving in her own light, and like seeing her really milk out the resources from community has been so empowering. And like, I feel like that's what it's all about. And like, Erin, we've been working together since we were babies. It's just all we've ever known, and I'm so grateful to have like all of these Black women that uplift me and like share community with me, you know. It's gonna make me emotional, but I'm proud of y'all.
I think for me, it really pains me when, you know, a lot of us don't get the job, right, for reasons other than we're capable, right? That we don't have the fortitude to like do the job. And I just think that most of my work personally has in projects that I've gotten have come from other DPs, like more than sometimes even a producer or, you know, a production company. It's us vouching for each other, and I'm sure, you know, for a long time behind the scenes we've been doing it, and I think, you know, the space that we're in right now, it's just like, all right, we're all in here, right now, you know, and not all of us are DPs, but I think it's up to us to always constantly be referring each other, to bringing each other on jobs, you know, to operate for one another, so that we're always all in the mix, and I think that's happening. I think we're seeing a lot more of it, but you know, there's always a long way to go when it comes to that kind of stuff, you know?
Erin?
Yeah, so pieces of my experience have been so isolating, and just the whole climb, like from you guys' perspective, it might look like success, but it from me getting into the union, to me like just elevating my career in general, like I've been given the opportunities, but I always haven't had the infrastructure around me to support me. Like I've been given jobs to, get my 30 days in the union, but who's a part of the camera team that is supporting me? I'm talking about as an operator specifically, because I'm in the union as an operator. But who are the assistants who are supporting me in that effort to like get my skills, get those initial skills? And I want to be a resource. It's so important that this community exists. I think Sporas and like all of these groups really started to come together like during the pandemic, but before that, like there weren't many people that I was like trading notes with, and so I just hope to be a vessel and be a resource to help you guys' process just be not as just treacherous. So yeah. Been through the mud, still going through the mud, still learning, and hope to provide like some of that insight to you guys today. Not at the like height of our careers, probably by any means. We're still growing, but hopefully it'll get you guys to the next level.
All right, so I'm gonna tie it back into our intro and stuff, our icebreaker. I'll start with the production side of the panel. What things, when you get the call for the job, the deck is made, director's hired, now you're looking for a cinematographer, and what's that conversation like? What are the things that you're looking at? Are you looking at websites? Are you looking at reels, social media to even bring a name to the table? And then from the DP side, when we segue into it, what things do you feel like have worked for you all to just get those first couple of jobs? I'm talking about in the humble beginning phases of your career. And also, let me address this side too. I know like all three of them are repped, but I think sometimes people get it misconstrued when people have agents. You still have to do a lot of marketing, a lot of relationship building on your own. Like sometimes your agent's just there to handle your paperwork. They're not there to sometimes push as many jobs as people might think. So I want people to also kind of keep that in mind. Like these individuals do a lot of the work to get those jobs to happen. So I'll start again with the panel side. Like what's making y'all say yes or even putting a name up?
I'll start, yeah. That's a really good question. I feel like I get asked that a lot. Specifically, like I said, I work in music and or film and music. And one of the biggest things for me is always gonna be, let me back up. I actually consider producers curators to a certain extent, right? We have to curate the energy on set to get the deliverable that we're trying to go for, right? So when I'm thinking about which artist is, we're creating content for, we're putting a film together, we're shooting the big thing is everyone wants to have a short film. So if we're putting together a short film, I'm putting together the crew, which DP, which cinematographer, which director is gonna have one synergy with the director, right? Because the director and the DP are gonna be working hand in hand. And then on top of that, Sade, I love what you said about like seeing kind of like these greats and it's like, the styling is off or the lighting is off or, it's like, why did you get this? Why are your edges not laid, child?
And why is no one saying anything?
Why are you so greasy? Baby, we glow, we're not greasy. Exactly. And so all those things are kind of, I'm putting all these pieces together. And so the first thing I would say, because we work in such a collaborative environment, is what is your energy, right? Because, we're working with like your favorite music artist. I need you to still be focused, but also I need you to kind of be able to bring something out. And that's from a DP side, working with the director too. And so I think the first thing I go for is relationships. It's like, who do I have a relationship with that I know that this DP is gonna be really able to execute and be in this environment and be able to also thrive? And again, Sade, I love what you said about being able to put your crew in a situation where they have all their resources and they're going to thrive. So for me, number one has gotta be, I'm going towards the DPs that I already know. Which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I know a lot of black DPs though. I know all y'all. That's what I'm saying. I'll be knowing y'all. So I would say the first thing is gonna be the relationship. And then the second thing is gonna be, what is your kind of, is there an expertise that you have that we can utilize for this particular story? So if I know that there's a DP that is like really kind of like verite documentary style kind of run and gun, and we're doing something in that same vein, I'm probably gonna hit them up, right? If we're doing something that's a little bit more polished, it feels more portraiture, it feels more elevated, more kind of glossy, then I'll move forward in that direction. So I think number one would be relationship, and number two would be the actual style. What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think relationship and energy is definitely top. From a technical perspective, to piggyback off what you were saying, it's composition and lighting, right? I think it's 2023. Like, if you can't light black people, like, I don't know about that. Like, it's almost like a prerequisite, right? It's like, we are the perceptions people are gonna see. And so, like, we're making that content, and so it has to look good, right? And composition, I'm looking to see, like, how are you composing different shots, right? And in our business, right, we're not so much music video, we're branded content. One of the things that we also look for is the type of content that we're doing, right? So, like, if it's something that has to do with racing or action shots, right? So, like, I'm looking for DPs that sort of, like, have experience within that, because it'll be a better fit, right? And similarly, what you were saying, I lean on Damo a lot. Like, I'll ask Damo, like, who do you know, right? Like, I sort of lean on the community, right, in terms of, like, finding the people that we want to find. This is why this is so great, right? Like, I want to walk out of here with everyone's info, right? Because, like, everyone's really good at one thing, and, like, we can use it in some way or another. And so, like, that's one thing I feel like in the branded content space is, like, who's really good at lifestyle, right? Like, a shooting lifestyle, and, like, bringing that creative. For me, I'm very collaborative, and so, like, across the board, all the way from, like, the EP all the way down to the grips. We do have black grips. So, like, it's being collaborative across the board, and even the creative is never set in stone, right? Like, the client will give us what they want to do, but, like, they're bringing it to Blavity because they know we speak a certain language. And so, like, we have to make sure our crew match that. And that's probably one of the number one things for me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of the things. I think I'm actually not necessarily, in the seat that I sit in, I'm actually not necessarily putting together crews. So I'm actually at first seeking black production companies. And you'd actually be surprised how hard that is. Like, I hit you up recently, like, Zamo, you got a production company? Like, or you just a DP? Like, what's going on here? Because I just kind of want you to put together the crew for me, type of deal. And so would, like to say that very loudly to the room, in the sense of, if you guys are producers out here that are working, as black people, we work in a lot of different creative spaces. Don't be afraid to go out and incorporate, yourself or your business or whatever as a production company, right? Because I'm actually just seeking that first, right? Because I'm not professionally the person that will put together a crew, right? I would go to Sankara to put together a crew. So just want to, kind of say that very loudly. Like, don't be afraid to go out and say, like, I know a lot of people in the space, like, how you're talking about, Bridget, like, all these different people, and you work with these people on a continuous basis. Go label yourself as a production company, right? Now there are people that are sitting in a seat like mine that are seeking you to put the crews together and kind of do that work for us, right? And echoing everybody's sentiments around, success of, a black crew and lighting and all of those things, Damo, gave the shout out around the Jonathan Majors cover. That cover was explosive because of the black crew, right? He was shot by a black man. Keith Majors is here. Keith Majors is here. He was shot by a black man, right? And he was styled by a black man. The creative was by a black woman, right? You know, Jonathan Majors was on Vanity Fair. He's been in Men's Health. He's been in all of these things. But the magazine that popped was the one where he was shot with a black crew, right? And I think that there's something to be said about that. He was lit right. We knew the swag to give on set, right? The energy was there. We're listening to D'Angelo on set, right? Like it's different, right? It's a different type of energy that he's giving in front of the camera, even at his status, right? Like even at his status, he's giving a different energy and a different vibe with a black crew. So, you know, love the sentiments. I think, you know, finding your niche is important. You know, I am like Sankara, like Bridget, you know, I am seeking, you know, who's doing what well for these brands, because I am gonna need to pull that out. And, you know, work across a lot of different content mediums, right? Like how can I utilize this niche across a lot of different content mediums? So I know that we all like to be good in a lot of different things, but would say like, don't be afraid to like lean into what you're good at, because there are so many brands. Like I work with so many different brands, and I'm looking for so many different types of things on a day-to-day basis. And I think there is something to be said about, you know, being good at your niche, right? And your lane in that space. And, you know, I am looking at websites. I'm very technical. I'm looking at websites. I'm looking at your portfolio. I want all the things. I want all the things.
Can I say one more thing? Okay, just quickly. Are there any like producers here? Independent producers? Okay, dope, raise your hand. Amazing. Okay, y'all are production companies now. Okay, dope. Just like you said, it is so important to have even if you are just you're a producer, if you have ever put together a set, you have key grips, you have department heads that then can hire your ACs and, you know, all the way down the line. So all the producers, y'all are production companies now. Y'all are black-owned production companies, kind of your own, kind of small. And the other thing that I just want to add quickly is to just stay ready. Because oftentimes in our business, things are like, I have the job right now. Damo, how many times have I called you like, look, Jay, I need you right now for something in a minute, you know? And so I will say, if you just stay ready, that is really important too. Really hone in on your craft and be able to, you know, if I call you and I'm like, hey, I have this and this is what's going on, be able to be like, yeah, I can get this, here's the turnaround time, let's get it. And I'm not gonna call you for no free, nothing free, okay? And don't, yeah.
And to that point about I'm not calling about nothing free, you know, as producers, you can run the bag up with the production company, okay? Now I'm coming to you in a different capacity where you're adding creative and agency fees to the bid that these brands are gonna pay anyway. They're spending a lot of money. So don't be afraid to brand yourself as a production company, and let's run the bag up on the brands together.
I hope y'all taking the notes, because I am. But so, for the DP side, and I think one of the things that's unspoken about is like, for us, we got to get the portfolio before we start really getting clients, right? So for y'all, when did you see that shift from passion projects, shooting no budget music videos, to like, oh snap, I'm getting called, y'all got money? Like, I'm gonna get a check? Like, what did y'all notice in that shift that made more yeses happen and more jobs start to happen? By the way, Sade kind of loaded me with some of these questions. I had to rework my whole Q&A. She hit me with some heat.
I'd say for me it was like when it came down to understanding the managerial aspects of just the job of being a cinematographer, like everything that's outside of the creative, right? You know, because we all are creative in the beginning. That's what gets us into it. We have ideas, we have a passion to do something. We try to figure out the best possible way to materialize something just out of nothing, just from what's in our head. But it's a business, right? And so I think when it comes to having conversations with production companies and producers and line producers and stuff like that. It's just like, how much of a handle do you have on all the aspects of this thing outside of your job, right? How much do you know about what a producer has to go through to manage the money and move the money around in the budget, and how that affects your job? I think, again, yeah, when it comes to being creative, we all got some sauce, right? We all got a little something that we see in ourselves. It's like, oh yeah, I got a little something here. I can do this thing, whatever it is, right? But yeah, how does the set move? Like, if you need to be in a position to pivot, they have to know that you can do that. They have to know that you have encountered things in your path that enable you to make a quick decision on spot, right? To your best ability of what you know about gear, equipment, what what your crew is doing, and to be able to add that on top of whatever creative ideas you have when you're speaking to a production company, I just think goes a long way. Because you can encounter anything. This thing that we do, like, as much as we have a vision, a lot of that's attached to it is unpredictable at times. Somebody can get sick. You don't have that talent that you need at the last minute. That pushes things, or the job even in itself may even need to push. And it's like, we do a lot of operating and forging a path without a roadmap. And, it becomes about how well we're able to make a production company, a line producer, a director comfortable with us, right, as visionaries that, again, will give them comfort when those times come, when those times arise. Because we're all there out to create, everyone's there for a central goal, hopefully, right? And yeah, that's my, I guess, in terms of that. And then, when it comes to, like, when you're, the thing that happens that makes you confident that, okay, you got a lot of work, right? You've done documentary, maybe you've done music video, or you've done a lot of music videos, a lot of documentaries, or you're only in the space that you're only focusing on the space that you like. Which again, that's also like knowing yourself, right? Like, like if you're wanting to do more narrative stuff, then maybe don't take the music videos that are coming your way. Say no to those. You may need the money, but say no, because you need that time and you need that headspace to be honing in on the area that is that's closest to your spirit, right? And yeah, I think, it's very apparent, and it will be very apparent to a production company, a line producer, when you meet with them and you have a conversation with them. They're also trained to see, to see through a lot of the spiels that we as DPs give them, because we develop them. We're trying to get the job, right? And so yeah, maybe that's a long-winded answer, but it's a good one.
So for me, the barometer of creating a strong body of work never lied within the hands of, like, clients. For me, it was about, like, narrowing the gap between, like, what was in my mind creatively and what the images that I was actually projecting. And I think there was a moment where I, like, started to plateau in terms, when we're talking about, like, humble beginnings. This is me, like, shooting with a DSLR, sending out like 50 emails a week to up and coming local artists, musicians. I was like dabbling in the the record label world, but like I wasn't getting any emails back from them because like I didn't have any real work behind me to like speak for myself creatively. And so I think with my work plateauing a little bit, I took the initiative to go to school. And I'm not saying by any means, like everybody doesn't need school to be their trajectory to like make them better, but it did help me. It lended a hand in making me more technically savvy, gave me more technical edge, and I didn't have like that network. I didn't have a community to like. I couldn't go to Sade. I couldn't go to like Damo. I couldn't go to Anthony to ask those questions because they weren't in my immediate universe then. So like I used those resources to like just build my skills, and I think ultimately I started to close the gap like just by doing more work. And at that point it wasn't about the coins. Like I was just taking jobs just to get better, and I was saying yes to a bit of everything, and yeah.
Get your reps up, pretty much.
Exactly.
Muscle memory.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, humble beginnings. I did a lot of ratchet shit I should not have not done. Like I moved to LA from small town Palm Springs. I was not around any artists. My family's not artists. So like coming to LA was like culture shock. And I was like, I'm finally gonna be in LA. I'm gonna be around people that understand me. It's gonna be a big step for me. And then I went to film school, and it was just like a bunch of white film bros that wouldn't even let me get my hands on a camera, you know? And so like a big thing for me, struggling to film school, paying all this tuition to have a creative career here and not really paying off was a big struggle for me, and it was a big transitional period for me. And so like I was doing the same thing, like cold emailing production companies. I was off of Craigslist shooting ratchet gigs, but that's how I met some of the people I still work with now, you know? And I think the first camera I ever invested in was an Ursa, and I used my FAFSA loan to buy the camera. I would not recommend that, but I did it anyways. Because access to gear was a big thing for me, and I was feeling like I need to drop out of film school and I need to just pursue my own personal career, because I can't wait for these people to understand me. I can't wait for these people to bet on me. And so a lot of what I was doing in the budding era of my career was just shooting with my friends. Like some of my friends, they didn't even know what production design was, but I was teaching them. And I was like giving them the resources to help me out on set. And we were crafting music videos for local artists, some of my friends. We were crafting like commercials for local businesses, startup businesses, and like just working within our own means. And I was literally shooting all of this like out of my living room in my like small ass apartment. I had a roommate. She would get so annoyed with me shooting at the apartment, but she just let it be because that was how I was paying rent at the end of the day. And so like betting on myself was a really big thing, like growing up in my career. And like even first time I like shot a job on Alexa Mini, I had not fully shot a job with it before. I've prepped it before, like been on set with it, AC'd with it, but I hadn't shot a job with it. And I with the production's budget, I like rented an extra 2 days and just like taught myself the full camera on my own, and then did my first job with it. So a lot of it was just like betting on myself, taking those chances. Even like my first big commercial job on a stage, after I got signed, my agent put me up for this commercial I really want to do. I really love the directors, but I was up against like all these other white, older, experienced DPs, and it's like, I'm just happy to be here, so I'm gonna give him my all, I'm gonna give him my best. And I created a full-on creative deck on the commercial, and the directors were really inspired by how much effort I put in, and like all my creative ideas and how I crafted a visual language, like referencing even like very auteur like narrative films for this commercial, but actually being intentional with the imagery I was putting forward, and that helped me stand out. And so like there's this whole idea of like, when we get in the room, we gotta make it count, and we gotta put our best foot forward. And I feel like that's really helped me, because when I was pitching for that job, my agent was even hesitant. She was like, there are a lot of bigger DPs that they're looking at for this as well. And so like when I ended up booking that job, it was like a really big switch off in my career, because it was like, oh, this is assurance, and I'm doing what I need to be doing. I have the creative ideas. Everything that I'm doing on this commercial scale is just the same thing I've been doing in my living room with my best friends. It's just on a larger scale. And so like this accessibility to like resources is a big thing. Like what Erin was saying, like having Sam as a resource to like help out on jobs, having like a community that shares camera packages. We'd be sharing notes on what we own. I think that's such a big thing because a lot of like what I struggled with coming up was accessibility to gear, and now it's like much more of an open space for us to like get in the room and actually get our hands on these materials. You know, it's a matter of getting our hands on something.
And I'll add to that, not even sharing the community of cameras, a lot of us have the overlap with same crew.
Yeah, true.
And we all, like, I'll see Bree operate for somebody. I'm like, oh, Bree operating. Okay, bet. My other operator's sick. Bree, come operate for me. Oh, I got how many cameras? Khalid's DPing now. Yo, come operate. Like I think a lot of us organically are helping a lot of other DPs move up, which I don't think is the cultural norm of old Hollywood. And that comes with time. You know what I'm saying? It's not just these people's portfolios. It's understanding their work ethic, understanding their personalities, understanding what rooms and spaces we can give them the best way to shine has been like, I just wanted to throw that out there. Sometimes the segue is not just jumping out off the porch as a DP. Sometimes it is the pathway of being a camera assistant for a while, and which I'm gonna segue into this part of the conversation, even though I wanna make sure we get into like the full process, but like a lot of our ACs or operators that are coming up under us are not there to learn how to light or shoot sometimes. They're looking at how we talk to clients on set. Yeah. They look at how we communicate. So I want to go there, but before I go there, Brooks kind of hit on something really important, that in between. You guys say yes to us for the job. We're up for the job now. And I'll start with the DPs on this portion. What is your communication channels now that the job is in the process of pre-pro? I heard a lot of us, I know I'll PDF you to death once I get the job, just so we're all on the same accord. Like, what do you guys textbooks look like? I'll try to pull one of mine up too, so people can see what I mean by that. But like, what is now your process with communicating with production as you're getting ready for the shoot? And then I'll jump into the communication side on set. But yeah, what's that like now that they said yes to the job, you know the budget, you know how many cameras, you know what you need crew-wise, you know the visual look you're going for. How are you now communicating with the client? Because when Sade sent me that email and I talked to Sam, I was like, yo, we talking about so much about just getting the yes, but I was like, oh snap, we really do need to go over what happens after the yes. You know, so yeah, what happens after the yes for y'all once y'all like signed on for the job?
It's got you. You know, I think it can mean a number of things. Like a lot of times you're gauging where the production even is in the process, after you've gotten the call sometimes. So you've gone through the camera stuff and you're figuring that out, and it's just like, oh, well, when's the scout? We're scouting, you know. All right, well, after the scout's done, well, what needs to happen after that? Things are always like massaging themselves all the way down to the final, you know, to the day of, right? Everything's being massaged from every different department. And so, you know, you may be having in conversations about like, how much space do you need? You know, you may need to add crew based on the scope of the idea. So you have to, these are the things that you have to, like, because you know, they don't know, you know, to achieve something, like you may need to add 2 or 3 people, and you got to explain that to them. And they've got to say, okay, well, we got it, we don't have the money, well, then this is, you know, maybe we have to augment in some sort of way to like still, you know, sell the idea. It could be that. It could be just you and the director in your space together, just having fun, you know, and just communicating your collective ideas with, you know, production. There's so many different ways, I think, and so many different kinds of leading up to the day experience that I've had. I've also you know, been on a lot of indie shoots where the director is even not even, you know, some with, you know, nice sized budgets where the director is also like wearing a bunch of different hats. And so in those situations, that person is not even with you to ideate or plan or, you know, strategize. And so in those times, like, you're kind of flying blind, but you're not, because you had enough conversations to know, like, you know, how to move. And so your mind sometimes is just going constantly. What am I forgetting? You know, is there anything that I'm overlooking here? Is this lighting strategy even gonna work? You know, and you're just like massaging this thing all the way down to the day of, and yeah, and then you shoot, and hopefully it's everything that you talked about. You know, hopefully it's, you know, you're fulfilled in that, like, you are able to sprinkle a little bit of yourself, you know, onto a project, especially when there's like clients involved and there's so many other objectives outside of just the cool shots that you want to do that's going to serve them, you know. And so it's really a lot of times like figuring out like what their needs are, right, and how you best can you know, achieve that. And sometimes the needs change, you know. Sometimes they change in the moment, and you got to be ready to change in the moment too. It's what a lot of my experiences have you know, been a lot of you know, in the beginning for sure, indie shoots where things are just so unpredictable. And so you say to yourself, oh wow, well, you know, you can allow those sorts of situations to like deter you or, you know, get you off your game, but you know what you're doing, right? You say, okay, well, we can't film in this direction, we gotta shoot over here. Well, you know, give me a frame of diffusion and let's just go run and do this thing, you know, with natural light or, you know, I think it just helps just in general for them to know that you can adjust and that you can kind of be a chameleon in a way, and that you're also not going to, you know, cause issues. Like, you know how to make the money work, and you know how to achieve the best possible way. Sometimes, like, you're not even using the best piece of gear that you would have loved to, right? But you know what's gonna get you 70% of the way. And then in post, we can, you know, do this thing to it, to get it to, you know, edit it or color it in a way to, you know, get you what you're looking for. But yeah, I think a lot of those conversations are logistical. It could be all of the above.
Sometimes the yes for me is like the easiest part of it all. It's the yes will have come from like having a general meeting and proving to my potential collaborators that I'm human, that I'm somebody that they want to spend like 12 hours on set with, or like so many hours with before, like during prep. So like that's the easiest part. I think after that, like then comes the getting on the same page in regards to visual language with your director. And if it's narrative, like you are taking a script, and for me, I give it the first read, and a lot of what comes up for me initially is like lighting, and through each scene, I pay special attention to like the main character and the arc that they're going to, how they're changing throughout the story. And I'm taking mental notes and sometimes physical notes about like how I how before even like talking about like what that means framing wise or movement wise, like I'm getting an understanding, and I'm wanting to like jot down questions of like what is the backstory, what's not on the page of this script that I'm reading that can cater to the visual language that the director and I are ultimately establishing. And from there, I put together a deck, and that deck doesn't always come out like in that next meeting, but I like use it as a frame of reference for myself, where I'm putting together like what I want the light to feel like through each. I'm breaking down in this deck like what I want the light to look like in each scene, whether or not it's soft or hard, whether or not it's warm, cool, and I'm breaking down like what I want composition to look like. Is this a more intimate moment? Like, do I want to be closer to them, or do I want to feel distant? Do I want to feel like negative space? So I'm bringing all of that information to my deck. And then in the next meeting with my director, I'm having the conversation about it, but I also don't want to be like too overbearing about like those ideas, because they haven't expressed like how they envision the film. And my favorite thing about like creating is like the collaboration aspect. So I don't want to just come to you and you just like do all of the things that I have in my deck. I want it to be a conversation. So I'll then, like, after hearing their points, and if I feel like we're aligned, we're on the same page, then I'll usually share that document. If I feel like we're not on the same page, I'll reserve it, and then I'll go back, do a little bit more homework just to like fuse our ideas a little bit more. And from there, like, we go on and select tools. I never go into a project like deciding on camera, lenses, the sources I want to use. Like that comes just organically from filling out like what is servicing the story, like what does the story require. So
yes, all of this. I mean, yeah, it's a very intricate process. I feel like as DPs, like our biggest struggle is like making our day, right? And this concept of like making our day means like how are we utilizing like time, money, and the creative to all make our day at the end of the day and make the project happen, essentially. And I feel like as DPs, sometimes we have to be the bad guy, whether it's to the director or to production. If the director feels like they really need this look, then we have to go back to production and push back. If the production is on our in our other ear saying, oh, we can't give you this extra money, then as a DP, you have to come up with a creative solution to still service your director, you know? So it's like so much politics, you're balancing all of these different energies, and then on top of that, we're dealing with our crew as well. And I feel like for me, like going through these different experiences, especially on larger jobs, it's so important to have very, I guess I would say like essential key department heads, you know, like gaffers you know you could really trust to get the job done. First ACs you know you can trust to get the job done. And like sometimes in my initial pitch I'll have one idea, but my gaffer will look at the budget and be like, Sade, that's not gonna happen. But then maybe I'm feeling, oh, I really need an overhead softbox to make our day so we have more shooting efficiency, stuff like that. It's like, it's a tit for tat, but I think that's what makes the process so beautiful for us as DPs. It's like we're dancing between all of these different mediums to like bring this creative idea to life. But yeah, these are things you kind of don't teach. They don't teach you. You have to learn on the job and through experiences. And I feel like me and Erin specifically, there's so many times where we've worked with the same directors, the same production companies, and I'm calling her like, oh, how did you deal with this? Can you give me a little gems, a little notes? Because it's like, as DPs, we're expected to know everything right away. And I feel like sometimes it's good to accept, oh, I don't know, I'm gonna employ my department heads. I'm gonna consult within my community for advice as well. And it's all of the tit for tat of it all.
So real quick, because Sade asked also about this, and I thought this was great. So after that, yes, a lot of us usually have to make lookbooks or decks right after we look at the lookbook or the deck from the director, the agency, the creative. So I'll share one of mine real quick. This was for a 5-camera shoot, just to like kind of really go over like, all right, what are we expecting? And also I send this to all my department heads. So like my camera department knows like 5 cameras, which camera's getting which lenses, the lighting setup. But yeah, this is where I'll talk through. So agency side doesn't like, we don't have to have any conversations about lighting on set because we talk about it in advance. So I'll pull references, talk about my lighting real quick. I keep it kind of short. I don't try to make it too wordy, just kind of 1 or 2 sentences. You go to the next slide for me. And I'll use more references to talk about tones, just so we're on that side, because I always hate when the client doesn't look at this, and then we're on set and somebody's like, hey, it feels kind of dark and moody. I'm like, oh, you know, y'all made me look at y'all tech book, or y'all book, did y'all not look at mine? Because this is what the director wanted.
And there'd be like 100 pages.
Yeah, I'm like, everybody else had a convo about this. Where were you at? You know, just make sure you flip it on the client side and make sure they do their homework as well. You go next one. And then, only more so now when I do multicam, I'll diagram everything. So I'll go over, this is my lighting diagram. This is after the tech scout. This is so my electric department, my grip department knows where exactly where we're rigging, especially if I'm doing overheads. Then you go to the next slide. Then we're discussing coverage. You know, I'll use examples, especially it's multicam, so I'm gonna use multicam coverage. You go to the next slide as well. Then camera blocking. Like I go through all this, so I can, because my thing is, I don't want to take the main person who I'm collaborating with as a DP, is the director. I don't want to take them out of anything. I want to make sure I'm not asking them too many questions on set. We're on the same accord more than anybody else. And then so that trickles down with my department, so there's not too many confusions and questions there as well. And then I think there's what one. This was the at Sony Studios for PBS. This isn't out yet, by the way, but you know, whatever. And then references on the lenses I'm gonna use. And what I try to get a lot better at now, and even like, because I made this deck last year, some of my more recent decks, I don't even use references from other people's work. I try to first pass at my deck, make it only my work, so we're now reestablishing why you're hiring me, what about my aesthetic you want out of this job. So yeah, just selling them on the Dream Lens, camera notes, and then I think the next slide you don't have to go to because it's like the actual like stuff from the shoot. Like, cause I made post notes. So sometimes I'll revisit these and then make post notes from the actual footage, and then so I can reference it later for another job. So I can't show y'all that stuff because then that's the NDA part I gotta respect. But so then I just giving y'all ideas for all the other upcoming DPs, like a lot. I know Sade and Erin share these decks with each other. I know me and Sade share these with Khalid and probably Bree and a couple others. Like we share these amongst other DPs sometimes because it's also like these are helpful notes for you in the future. If you get, me and Tanisha just had this combo because she just had a 5-camera shoot or 4-camera shoot. And I was like, yo, let me see this one that I did for 6 cameras. You know, like we share notes. And so I want to, before I even get to the communication on set, I want to now dive into the different types of relationships, not just with like, because you've heard from multiple people on this panel, some of them hit me up for other DPs, you know, and then some of us as DPs put each other up for work. And I don't want y'all to get only in the mindset today that the only relationships and people you need to meet are producers and directors. Meet other DPs, because guess what? You get most of your work from other DPs. Like straight up, that is always going to be the thing that gets you in there. And like, I think a lot of us even keep in mind when we do a lot of these multi-cam shoots, that at some point we're going to get busy. We're not going to be able to do this. And naturally it's going to be, some of us strategically make either our A operator or B operator or DP on purpose that's operating for us, so that moment I can't take that job, yo, this person's been here this whole time. They know the exact program. They know, y'all know them. Y'all know their vibes. They can bring in the same crew. They can do this job. Boom. Now somebody else has another job, and we keep it in-house versus them feeling like they have to outsource outside of the community, right? So yeah, let's kind of dive into like, what do you guys' relationships look like? And I'll go back to this side of the panel. Like, when y'all looking for personnel, who are some of the people you talk to, text? Why do you trust these people when it comes to recommending putting DPs up for work? You know, like, I can even, Bridget, why would you trust me to put another DP up for a job, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a really good question. Well, actually, I want to say something really, really quick. I noticed that all of you guys, when you first were talking about your humble beginnings, you talked about working with local artists. I really do, and I don't know what label you reach out to, but I would say if there are people who are like just starting out in your career as a DP or anything on film sets, music is such a good place to start. I have, you know, small, like new artists that we sign that have small budgets that are just a couple $1,000s, so it's low risk, and you can get on. If you make a mistake there, it's so chill, because we'll just edit it out or add it, and it's like a part of their like new steez. So I will say, yeah, that's the song. You know what I'm saying? It's like a little, you messed up on the film or something, yeah. But I will say, music is a really good place to kind of get your feet wet, and yeah, we always have like really small, I mean, my budgets range from whatever, 5,000 to a M, you know what I'm saying? So I will say that, yeah, to start in music is really great. And you see where they at, so they're killing it. But as far as relationships, for sure, I love what you said, Damo, about in your deck, you have your own work. I actually go through my old work when I'm trying to find like new, when I'm trying to crew up, like hire up again, because again, it's about the relationships. And sometimes there are those, I love that you spoke about sometimes having to make this decision on set creatively, because you're like, oh, actually I need more crew, or we need another, you know, softbox, whatever it is. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Producers, we don't need to know that, you know what I'm saying? But, so what we have to do is like, I like to work with DPs that we can work to, like, there's only so much money in the budget, right? So it's like, I do need to work with somebody, like if it's a smaller thing, but I know it's gonna be hella fun and it's gonna like go really far and I'm gonna book you for more work, that's also something that I'm trying to like, okay, maybe this budget is really small and I'm not gonna be able to pay you what I know you really should be making, but what if I book you on 2 back-to-back? Like maybe it's not, I mean, in a way, it's like, I just need you to work with me because like I said, and like I think everybody else on this panel, they're working in commercials and branded content, which obviously at a music level, because the artists, y'all book artists for your branded content, I'm also working on those budgets as well. So it's like, what I'm trying to do is like, I'm trying to get you in the system, and sometimes getting you in the system, I am starting you off on something that's like $10,000. You know what I mean? And I do that because that's just like, we're doing maybe we have a TikTok content day or something. I need you to come in and shoot. But then that same artist gets booked for a Honda commercial. And so now I need a DP for a Honda commercial, and that's $100,000 or $200,000. So what I be trying to do is get you in so that I can now, because a part of also being, and maybe you have this experience too, is like, as much as I crew, in this position I'm in now, I kind of am the final word, but before, when I was a line producer, as a line producer, I'm reporting to my EP. I'm reporting to head of content or whoever I was working under. So I'm also selling you too. And when I already have a working relationship with you, or if I'm like, oh no, they hella cool, or no, they know how to like work with artists really well, or they have a really great like camera team that they bring in, or all the grips are black and they hella cool and we be shooting dice in the back, you know what I'm saying? It's like stuff like that. I'm like, okay, instantly I want these people on my set, and so I can now sell you because we already have a working relationship. So this is just the last thing, is that even though like the first budget might not be a lot, I'm always gonna be there to support you. I never leave people high and dry. Like, I'm never gonna just be like, here go $5,000, have fun. I'm a line producer at the end of the day, so I'm always gonna help you out on that. Yeah.
Literally, we met doing a low budget music video. Vibes was great. Fast forward, Bridget was the first person that called me to direct DP. And initially, when she called me, I was like, no. And I was like, bye, and hung up. And then she called me back like, Damo, you can do this. And yeah, once I saw the bag, I was like, yeah, you know what, I can do this. I can do this. So yeah, she does pay it forward. She does pay it forward.
I think for me, what's important in terms of relationships is professionalism. I think it's something to be said about, us being on set, having a good time, because we understand each other culturally. But, in the seat that I'm in, I'm often the client or a client that also got a client. And so it's going to be really important for me to, when I'm in situations where I'm trying to, help you, you got to help me help you too, right? And so the professionalism is going to be really, really important. I think what also stands out to me is, and I think, Bridget, you kind of touched on it, was how are you handling audibles, right? What I've learned in production is that there's always going to be an audible on set. Something's going to go wrong. Something's not going to go right. A camera's going to break. We showed up, a light's not working. We had people testing positive for COVID. We trying to, make sure people, coming to work, and how we shooting this, because now we done lost 2 people on the crew, those types of things. But being able to handle those things on set and show up in a way that, is important from a client perspective goes a long way. And for me, in terms of like trusting, you moving forward and giving projects to you moving forward, it's like, oh, nah, Damo lost 2 people in the camera crew to COVID and we still made it work. I'm about to call him for this next job, right? Like those types of things. Also, the DPs talked a lot about communication. I think, over communication is also important to me from a client perspective, being able to understand and kind of see your vision. And you actually, I'm actually trusting you guys way more, in that sense of, I'm not necessarily putting together a crew, right? You guys are managing the crew, and I'm trusting you to manage the crew in a lot of instances. And so, going the extra mile to put together timelines. I'm very organized. I'm a very organized human. I need to see what timelines look like. Over communicate with me. Like, let me know what's going on a lot of the times, because I'm not necessarily that production person, that can see things from pre to post, right? I need you guys to like kind of spell those things out to me. So, going the extra mile, going deep inside of these creative decks, those types of things are going to make me want to, reach out to you, because I'm probably doing 6 projects at the same time, right? And it's like, okay, well, I know Damo going to take this project and I'm not really going to have to think about it that much, right? Like he's going to do it, and then he's going to communicate with me and make me feel comfortable, where I don't have to, micromanage this project in this sense, because I see what I'm getting back, and I feel comfortable in that space.
Yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of that. I think the only thing I would add from a relationship perspective is, to Damo's point, not only getting to know the other DPs, but everyone else on set. I can't tell you how many times, like, we've shot the project, we're in post, and I'm with like a sound designer or something like that, and we're just shooting the shit, and then like, they'll tell me about a really dope DP or like a really dope gaffer that they know, and that's the relationship right there. Yeah. Right? And so like right there, I'll then reach out, because like they'll pass me their phone number or email, and then we'll just start from there. So I think community as a whole, I think it behooves all of us to know everyone on set. Like, when I'm on set, I'm talking to everybody. We're shooting the shit with everyone. And to Asia's point, right, like on our end, not only are we pitching you, but like we have clients on our back, right? And so like we're also trying to make sure that like we know that you're gonna get the job done, and we don't have to over explain to a client or something like that about why we're getting this shot or why we're getting this. And so like the 1,000-page decks or deck me to death, right? Like because I can like take that PDF and like be on the same page with clients and know when they get on set, or sometimes they're not even on set. It's just like they're on Zoom, right? And like we're trying to get this work done. They know that they have full confidence in us getting the project all the way to the finish line.
Yeah, so for the DPs, because I mean, like all of us up here especially, me and Sade met right before the pandemic at Issa's event.
Wait, which one?
The Find Your Tribe. Remember
We
it
met at
happened?
that?
We met at that.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Dope.
And then the pandemic happened, and then Spores started getting more momentum, and then we just naturally, just organically started community and putting each other's names in different rooms and stuff like that. Like, I don't think y'all realize, like, even if it's just small interaction on social media, text messages, phone calls, how much other DPs chat with each other and how important that is to create real sustainability for yourself on this journey. Because, yeah, 8 times out of 10, I feel like other DPs put DPs' names in rooms before anybody else will. So let's kind of dive into like how y'all build those relationships. I know some of us grab dinner, some of us get tea, wherever we can, whenever our schedules fit. I know me and Erin are overdue to go to a museum at some point. Like how you build your relationships, and in a sense of not only a safe space, not just looking for like, oh, like me being cool with this DP is gonna get me work, but just finding somebody else to lean on at times and create that safe space, give you insight when that crazy job might come up that they already done, and can warn you about certain things. Like, how do y'all build y'all relationships out of that?
Ooh, yeah, this is my favorite question. I feel like because there's this whole stigma of like competition amongst DPs, you know? And my motto is like, I want to leave that for the whites. Like, I don't want to be involved with that, because I feel like the camaraderie that I've had with some of my brothers and sisters within this community have like uplifted me in so many ways. Like, met so many amazing crew, like so many black vendors have supported me, like Sam, IFB supported me on upcoming shoot, Boxed Up helps me with some glass. This is all people that we met through our own personal internalized community, and I feel like once you realize how much power and strength there is in that, like the world is yours. Like there's so many things that you're capable of doing, and like it feels like less isolating, because I feel like for me I always just think about the days when I was in my corner. I would come to networking events like this, and I would just sit in the corner with a notebook and not talk to anyone, because it was all white folk, and it felt there was so much lack of representativeness in my livelihood. And now we have spaces like this where we could show up, meet people, it's giving cookout vibes, there's a great DJ, like this is the kind of stuff I live for. So it's like being at the forefront of curating these spaces, but also taking that to the next step. Like, you meet someone that you had a great conversation with here, get coffee with them, bring them on set, like creating those next steps and creating longevity and community is so important. That's how I met so much of the crew that I work with right now.
Yeah, you know, I think I mirror all of that. You know, it's also like we're not all out here for the singular goal, right? To be filmmakers at whatever capacity, right? We're also running parallel is us living our lives, right? And so you don't want it to be that you just see these people on set at work and that's it. Yeah. You know, you don't, because you'll feel it. You're like, oh, well, damn, like, I really like this person. I really want to like see them outside of this capacity. And so whatever that means, like it could be coffee, it could be a hike, inviting somebody to, a personal event, that gives them a deeper insight into who you are as a person, it could just be coffee, but I like to go deep, like, come meet my family, let's, like,
straight up. Aaron's dad follows me on Instagram. I was so honored when he did.
Yeah, I want to meet your family.
I was so geeked.
Yeah, right? Like, if it's, because the idea is that we're here to go the distance with each other. Like, the distance. Like, this isn't, we're just doing one project here or there. And so that also enables us to help each other in other aspects of our lives as well. What are you going through? Are you in a good space mentally? What's happening? Is your kid okay? If you have kids, or is your mom all right? Like, what's your family life like? I think a lot of that, don't do, if you're not generally interested, don't force it, obviously, but like, it really does go a long way to like fellowship with your people outside of being on set. The other day, I just met Johnny Simmons, like, personally. Uncle Johnny, yeah, I met him, like, personally just the other week. And the other day he called me. He's like, "Yo, like, I'm moving stuff out of my storage. I need help. My back is old. Like, I need help to, move stuff from a gallery space. So I'll go pull up." And then you go and you do it, and then you get more than what you even than what you expected to get. You expected to go help someone. You got much more in return. And so. Yeah, a lot of that goes a long way, and even when it comes to the production companies as well, it's like, yeah, they want to know that they're going to give you the keys when they get the budget. They're going to know, okay, well, we want to do this little thing over here. If the budget's not going to be as high, we know you do good work. Come finesse it for us, and then we know that, like, when the thing comes down the pipeline, that is fitting for you, that is a good opportunity budget-wise, they're gonna give it to you. Yeah. And sometimes that takes a minute to for that type of stuff to come to fruition. But at one point I thought, like, I had shot a couple of features, a bunch of shorts, like a bunch of doc stuff, and I was still looking for work. Like, I was at a point where it was like, oh damn, like nothing's coming my way. I had a good friend of mine at a production company was like, yo, come shoot BTS for a commercial that I'm doing, right? That's how I met Malik. I was shooting BTS it was like a long running Jordan campaign, and I just came through and did it, and first of all, I got free game, I got paid to learn, I got to watch the master work, right?
It's Malik Saeed, for those that don't know.
Malik Saeed, for all those that don't know, he shot Belly.
Clockers, Girl
Clockers.
Six.
I think he did second unit on Eyes Wide Shut, I think. Yeah.
He talks about that story a lot.
Yeah.
Anything Hype Williams touched in the early 90s and early 2000s, Malik shot it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy. And from that, right, I did BTS randomly. I don't even know what impression I made on him in that experience, but he called me to do second unit, and he still calls me to operate.
I was there. It's like one of my last AC jobs, I think, too.
And it's cool. And you get free game every time. You get to break bread, and he's like a real dude. Shows up to set with the Bose speaker, bumping Jadakiss. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like deep cuts. Like, and when I saw him work, it like really blew my mind and opened my scope of how much you can just be yourself out here, right? Be a creative, right? And not necessarily have to move in a direction that this business is trying to tell you to move in for you to get work or to get jobs,
Yes.
Echoing all of those sentiments. I'm working a lot as a camera operator right now, especially with like DPs who are much better than I am, more skilled than I am, deeper in their career.
Just say experience. Don't say better. Don't say better. You don't know.
Okay, cool, fine. And what that's teaching me is, I just get to watch what they're doing on set. I get to observe how they're handling the politics. I get to observe like how they're talking to their own crew. And I've also been in a bunch of situations where that DP has put me forward to producers to say, okay, Erin's ready to second unit DP on some of this, or be the alternating DP. And ultimately it boils down to, like, on a TV show at least, how much experience you have, what your resume looks like. But at least my name is getting thrown into the room, and then with more like second unit DP experiences, someone, ultimately a TV show, will come to me and be like, hey, do you want to shoot this? So yeah, it's been really beneficial to like connect with other DPs in that way. Also, circling back to what Bridget was saying about reaching out to music labels. Eventually, like, I was doing that on my own, but eventually I started working at RSA, Ridley Scott's company, just as an assistant and an assistant to directors and executive producers. But there I had access to, like, I had to schedule things with agents, I had to schedule things with music video commissioners. And so I made those contacts while I was there, even though like it was on a lower level scale, like it was on the lower level, but they remembered me when I left RSA, and like 8 years in the making, like this is 8 years from that experience, they're now reaching out to me to put together treatments as a director, which is something that I'm like kind of denying in myself. Like, look.
She already co-directed a music video for Black. Let me say, just throwing that out there.
Thank you. But I love DPing so much. I love just all elements of that world, and I'm look, opening myself up to the directorial role, because like that is also an opportunity for me as a DP to now like create the projects that I want to create. Like now, like as a DP, like I'm taking the director's visual or vision and putting my stamp on that, but like now I get to create
From the ground up.
the concept.
Yeah, it only helps it.
Exactly. So like I'm almost selfishly using this as a tool to just like DP the projects that I want to be creating. And like I was telling Damo, like I'm overwhelmed with submitting like 4 treatments this last week, but like ultimately, it will help build my DP reel in a way that I want to build it. So.
And yeah, we were texting that. She was like, I don't know. And I was like, that's exactly what I said. I was like, yo, at the same time, this is just building your aesthetic more than anything else. Because I've been really in that shoes of like shying away from director DP jobs or directing. But I'm like, well, you know, it allows me to do that one thing I've been having in the back of my brain forever, though. So it does work. So we're going to segue to Q&A. But before I do, I want Naomi to make a quick announcement about 600 women, 600 Black women.
Hey y'all, it's me again, OA. 600 Black Women was founded last year, less than a year actually, and there were only 50 Black women in the union across the nation in all specifications. We have now grown up to 100, and we're having our second annual Juneteenth get-together here in LA this time. The first one was in New York. The second one will be here in Los Angeles on June 9th, 10th, and 11th. We're also wanting to invite the mentees. We're gonna be going to camera houses, playing with gear, community. So follow us on Instagram at 600 Black Women. We also have a webpage. And you can get to know some of your union Black women on, it's 600blackwomen.com. So, yeah.
So before we get into Q&A, I always want to point back to what Sam was talking about earlier with the start of Black Behind the Camera. Black Behind the Camera started focusing on working with Black women, being taught by Black women, and creating those safe spaces. And that'll always be a primary focus of Black Behind the Camera, because I remember when I was ACing, like, I had a better chance of seeing a unicorn than seeing a Black woman in the camera department, straight up. And to see the numbers constantly just like shoot up is incredible. Like it's really dope to see the community grow in that way. But yeah, so let's open it up for Q&A, because I think, let's see what time it is. It's 2:10? Yeah, so yeah, yeah.
All right, AD here again, yay. So name, title, and your IG maybe, that way so other folks can hear, or your webpage or something when you ask your question. Your name, your title, and your IG before you ask your question. Start with this young lady here. Stand up.
Hi. My name's Alexandra. I'm a director, writer, production designer. My Instagram is knives.8, like knives, like the utensil. My question is, so I just moved here a couple months ago. I'm trying to build up my network. Where do you go to find people and like meet other Black people? Like obviously here is one example. But where do I go to build up my network, and how can I find the other Black production companies around here?
Okay, I'll take the mic. Okay. This is what I will say. I do think in-person events like this are really important. And of course, there's a lot of producers here too. They raise their hands, so you should tap in with them. But the other thing that I did do when I first got here is, and maybe this is like frowned upon, I don't know, but I had like a white ally, because I also had moved here, and I yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I know we black and blackity black. But it's, you know what I'm saying? I needed somebody white to help me. I was like, how am I supposed to get on this set? All my niggas is right here, you know what I'm saying? It's like, who's gonna help me? I did have a white ally, and she was fantastic. She was actually white passing. She was actually Costa Rican. So technically, she's a BIPOC. But what I did is, I went on, what, I'm cussing. It's like Ad Age. They basically do like best production companies, small size, medium size, large size. So what I did is I looked at all the small size best production companies. They get awards. I forgot the name. I don't know if it's Ad Week or Ad Age. It's Ad Age. They do basically like best production companies every year. And so what I did is I just slid in their DMs. Like I was like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I mean, at the time, it was like right before 2020, so it's like being Black wasn't cool yet to them. But because I had slid in their DMs, and then all the 2020 uprisings, and you woke up, whatever, it was like, you know, oh my God, we need more Black producers. Oh my God, we need more Black women. Oh, we need more, you know. I'm also African. It's like, you just lead with all of that. But that's how I got on sets. But once you get on set, it's usually one or two other, and then you kind of build from there. But it is for me, because I do take quality over quantity. It was for me, I wanted the quality relationships. I met Damo, I don't know, it's been like 2-3 years now. It's 2023. Yeah. Oh my God, it was. Yes. Oh my, his child was just born. Yes. Well, the first one. Yes. And so this is a quality relationship. Like, yes, I just wanted to be with people that I really click with, that I really, really like. So you have to figure out your own strategy, but that was my strategy, was to get on a set. And usually once you get on, you get in a production company, you start working on set, there's gonna be one, even if it's the grip, shoot dice in the back, you know what I'm saying? It's somebody and they will help. I've gotten, as a producer, as an independent producer, I've gotten a job from a grip that put my name up for a future music video. Hello. And that's what I'm saying. It's really anybody, but anyway, I'm being
it kind of snowballs. Like, to this day, sometimes I usually have to ask, like, yo, how'd you even get my number? Like, people just speak you up. Like, literally, like she said, you might start with 3 contacts. Those 3 contacts are gonna turn to 9 contacts. Those 9 contacts are gonna turn to 18, and so on and so forth. Like, it just constantly triples. And LA is like, it's big, but it's really small. Even when you add every other race and ethnicity to the production world, it's only 1 degree of separation. Everybody in this town talks. Like, I think shortly after me and Bridget did a job, we ran into each other in Chicago, and she and I, like, I care about, yeah, and she put me on with Bradley when I needed a DP to cover me in Indiana. But more importantly, she brought to my attention somebody was using a crew that just made her feel unsafe on set. Like, and I think that's when our relationship really skyrocketed, because I was like, okay, he ain't in my rotation no more, because that bothered me. And I'm like, this is how much this town talks. Sometimes just that fraction of even somebody in your crew can tarnish your name. So you have to even be careful in that sense. So be careful. Like, I even learned now, like, I can't even talk trash about movies anymore on Twitter, because I'm just like, I never know I'll be in front of this person, Anybody else want to add to that, or we can jump to the next question?
You might have to turn around on this one. I just want to say thank you for everybody being here. Seeing gorgeous Black people leading and creating is just outstanding. One thing about Sade that you said was interesting for me. You were like, I went to a white film school, Full Sail, bunch of white kids, everybody there had money. And anytime I went to events like this, I was in the back, tucked away, not able to get the space that I needed. And then it's just crazy because today I'm in the front behind y'all. And it's just that just shows that y'all are opening the space for us. With that being said, my question is, my name is Fletch Power. You can find me on Instagram at DOPFletch. My question is, everybody likes to talk about what we do when we get in work. What are we doing when we not getting work? Like, how are you guys staying motivated? How are you staying hungry? Like, what's the, yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, I want to bring up the scare people about the drive.
Good answer. She look at me like.
I got the bars. I don't know. I mean, the thing that inspires me to do the work that I do is travel. I feel like if I'm not moving in the world, if I'm not traveling to other countries, I'm not my full self, and I'm just the most inspired when I'm traveling. I try to carve it out no matter what jobs pop up at the last minute, but 2 weeks in April, 2 weeks in September that I just commit to, these are my weeks where I'm gonna be out of the country exploring and getting inspired. So yeah, that's something that fuels me.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think me and Erin are the same in a lot of those ways, yeah. I grew up as a military brat, so I moved every 3 years to a new place ever since I was born, up into my teens. So traveling is, in my mind, is just what influenced my filmmaker spirit in the first place. And so when I'm not working, when I'm not shooting, it's still doing that, I think my months are May and October, I think is kind of what I see, yeah, kind of close. Because you know how the work schedule gets sometimes, when work picks up and you got to get in there and get out of it, get it in. But, and then you take joy. I think we were talking about this before too. Like you're forging a path when you're out there. You're still working the muscle. Maybe you take a camera with you or something like that, and you're trying to find a new way to capture a thing, or also still while being out of the work environment in the industry, and so you get a nice palate cleanse at the same time. Like you get to fill your own cup, and then in turn, when you get to work, you just get to pour it all out again. Yeah, it could be anything. Like I read a lot sometimes. Connect with family, get all that time in, because sometimes you don't have it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much how I spend a lot of my time, not working.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I feel like I like what you're saying about like still working that creative mind even when you're off. Like for me, like even if I'm going to a bar with my friends and we're breaking bread and I love like the practical lighting within the space, I'll like whip out my phone, flip it the other way and record some stuff just so that maybe it's great future inspo for me later on a job. And that's happened so many times. Like I feel like I'm the most inspired by just experiencing real life. Yeah, like getting off of set as well and getting outside of the house has been such a big thing for me. But also like I'm a big film buff. I'm always watching movies. I'm always breaking down movies. I'm always talking about movies. Just keeping that creative brain working has been a big thing for me. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'll add to it. I'm on the phone a lot when I'm off. That's usually when I catch up with people. Between friends, family, clients that I consider really good friends or family as well. Sometimes like it's nice to call some of the directors I work with, to just catch up on life. Like sometimes that's good because I know our relationship beyond set. It's like, okay, we're actually cool. Like this isn't just when we're at work type thing. So yeah, I like to be on the phone actually. I like to like just reconnect with some people sometimes, like just see what they're up to, how life is treating them.
All right, I got the brother with the Washington Nationals cap. Sister here, you're next, and then I'll work my way around. Keep the questions fresh. First name, last name, and handle.
How y'all doing?
Yeah, Dante.
What's up? I'm Dante. I'm a director, writer, and producer, originally from the DC area. Yep. Came out here for school at USC. Also, just to the last question that was asked about, from my man back here with what you do when you're not working. I know that was kind of an inspiration question, but sometimes it's a work thing. I know everybody's here in different capacities in terms of but don't be afraid to let it be known you're looking for work too, just from a producer's perspective. Sometimes we assume that you're booked and busy, and as messed up as it is, there's so many of you guys here, we don't always think to ourselves to say, hey, like, I wonder if this person would be interested in this. So the more you just put it out there, like, we have you on the front of our mind. But my question was for you guys on the panel, the DPs specifically, if you could share a moment that was kind of like a conflict that you had to put a little bit of extra resolution to as the minority on set, on some of these white sets coming in, because a lot of us, we don't find black sets to come and work on. I know as a producer I try to create safe spaces for black people, but one of those moments where there's a ego issue, hierarchy issue, things of that nature, and what you're saying and how you can kind of save what's going on in production, save the schedule, but there's a little bit of a hesitancy around speaking out against that hierarchy, and you're watching it crumble, but you don't want to watch it crumble. How do you deal with those situations in a way that feels less intimidating to the trajectory of your career or getting that next job without offending people?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Sade should start, because when me and Khalid was talking the other day, she used the word, Sade is very graceful in those moments.
Thanks, Kalia. Damn, that's a really good question. I've had a lot of really hard experiences with that, and me and Erin kind of share the same sentiment. I think like finding my voice in terms of creating boundaries with production companies was a really big journey for me, because they're so excited to hire Black talent, but they don't have the proper resources or knowledge. It's just like flat out ignorance about how to communicate to us and how to empower us as creatives. And so, I mean, like the first job that I walked off of was really hard for me. It was a commercial for a big client, big talent. Production company was from out of town. And the producer, she just was very blatantly like ignorant with how she would talk to crew. She had said in an email, because the director was a Black woman, I was Black DP. She said in the email like, she was a white woman. She's like, I'm so happy to have like a team of Black women creatives. Like, if my genes could let me become a Black woman overnight, I would. I got this in text in an email, and. Disregard that. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep it cool, keep it calm. And still getting through the job, we're on a scout, still communicating our creative approach. A lot of my department heads are women of color, my gaffer is Asian women's. There was just a lot of just back and forth. It's like you wanted to hire us as women of color, but then you're not trusting us in our creative decisions, but also our technical suggestions. And I think that's a really big thing for me. And it was a boundary that was really crossed. And I was trying to be patient. And there's just little things that built up and up and up. And I had to write an open letter to the production company, had to walk off the job, which I would not ever want to do ever again. It was so hard to do. But I think a big thing for me is like, if I don't say something, I'm gonna have to live with this. And I'm also putting my crew under these constraints, you know? And it's like, if you're trying to push the Black image and use Black creatives, like I can't advocate if this isn't properly done behind the scenes, you know? And so I had to write an open letter to this producer. It was one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life, because it was like, I was so scared, like, oh, I'm just excited to be here. I'm so excited to be in the room. I'm so excited to be in these conversations, but also if I don't say something, like, I know I won't be able to live with myself. And I think that's something that I really want to encourage, like, Black women department heads specifically too. It's like they want us to feel like, oh, we should be happy to even just be in the room, to even just be here, like be considered whatever. But also you got to respect us and you got to empower us in a way that actually is moving forward progressively, you know? And so like, yeah, that was definitely a really hard experience for me, but like definitely encourage like all my fellow Black women to like stand your ground, stand in your power, stand in your creative power too, because it's like these conversations are hard, and like these white people are having to experience these conversations for the first time. And I think that's what's so hard for us too. It's like me and Erin talk about this all the time. We have this pressure that we're the first ones who are having to call out certain things. They've never been held accountable. They haven't worked with Black women department heads, and it's so unfortunate, but like, I don't know, we gonna shift that hopefully. Everyone in this room will shift that.
I meditate religiously.
You give that, you meditate. Yeah.
Very, very, very often. You know, for a lot of these same reasons, right? But yeah, I mean, I'll give a quick anecdote. I was on a show. I was shooting this. I was shooting a film a long time ago. Right? It was an Iranian. It was an Iranian director. I had to speak through a translator to even just communicate with him about what the days were gonna look like and whatnot. And I think it was I think it was day one of the shoot. Setting up shot, everything's in motion, G&E, setting lights, production designs, getting things, picture card and all that type of stuff in place. And the producer walks up to me, very strange guy with a dog in his hand, like some straight up Hollywood shit, right? He's got a little tiny dog in his hand, a onesie, right? And
wait.
yes. He's got the, you know, some super Hollywood shit. And I was just like, oh, wow, okay. He comes up to me, I'm setting up the shot. I'm just practicing the move, right? Just practicing the move. And he says, you know, we have a big Iranian actor coming in today. Don't fuck this shot up. He just leans in and whispers it in my ear, right? Yes. And so he's standing there with this dog, and I'm just like, that compiled on like other things that were happening with the shoot, like cutting lighting budget, like last minute, not telling you, not communicating, like, because a lot of times you can just be clear and just take your emotion out of it, right? Like, just speak with clarity, like, we're trying to achieve this goal. We either have or don't have the means to do it, or this person, it does or doesn't have the ability to do it. Whatever the situation that causes the tension of ego to kind of erupt, I think it just helps to just speak clearly with no emotion, because the facts are the facts no matter what. You know what I'm saying? You either can do a thing or you can't do a thing. And, yeah, it's like I had to write a letter to his translator and to let them know that I wasn't going to work. I was going to leave, and I'm going to take the crew with me. That night I had to reach out to the crew, because sometimes when you speak with clarity and you let someone, and you're really effectively communicating, you don't know what kind of person or people, right, that it's on the other end of that, the receiving end of that. And being zen doesn't work, right? So yeah, fast forward, that night I let the crew know, like, look, I'm not shooting anymore of this film, so I'm letting y'all know, like, if you want to stay on, probably don't want to, but I'm walking. And I had to send a letter, same open letter vibes. Like, I had to send to the dude's translator, and they figured it out. Maybe they figured it out, but they didn't see me another day, and it didn't hurt my career at all, because they just weren't good people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so exactly, and I knew that. I was like, nah, y'all ain't going nowhere with whatever your endeavors are out here, just based on your ego. So I'm gonna gracefully be up out of this situation, and that's what it was. And countless things have happened, like, over the course of the career, especially with like white dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like, they see you got a little sauce. Sometimes it's ingrained in them. To just be that way to us. But I think, yeah, if you're clear, no matter what the facts are, the facts are the facts. You stayed for the rest of that? Yeah, I filmed them out. I finished the day. But, it's not on me they got to figure it out. That wasn't even the energy of I'm going to replace myself, because there's no soul alive that I would want to put in that environment, So, yeah. Hopefully that is. At some point, we're going to face something, like some sort of similar situation.
Safety, too, is such a big thing.
Yeah.
A lot of these production companies are like trying to cut corners. I was on a commercial. I won't say the name, sorry. Almost got hit by a car. They weren't blocking off the streets properly. It's like things like that. It's like production companies are cutting corners to please the client, but not making the proper boundaries. And us as crew, we have to advocate for that. I mean, I'm sure Erin can speak on this as well. Like, safety is like such a big thing too.
I see, I'm facing, you guys said everything, I think, in regards to producers and that hierarchy, but I've been noticing, for the most part, my experience has been grand, but like when I'm on travel jobs where I can't hire the crew, the producers find their own people to fill these key positions. And I find that a lot of times I'm being challenged by, it could be my gaffer or the key grip. And on those jobs in particular, I am even more thorough than I am usually on the prep. Usually I love the idea of collaboration, and if I hire a gaffer, it's because they're an expert at what they do, and I want to be inspired by you. You may know something that I don't know about this, about the way that we're lighting. You might have some suggestions that are beautiful to bring to this. But there have been moments where I felt like, okay, I have to call my units because I'm being challenged, and they're basically asking me oh, what does she know? So I come to the table saying this is what I want, make it happen, and I still offer for that that trading of ideas to take place. I'm not so rigid in that, but I've seen gaffers who I'll call something out and they'll just do something completely different. And in that, if I'm seeing this take place multiple times throughout the day and we're on a job together long term, then you're out. I had to do that recently for the first time, and I've never never even experienced that level of being challenged. So, yeah. Up here? No. Yeah.
That's crazy. Test. There you are. Question back here for you, Erin.
Hi, Erin, and everyone else. My name is Ndya. I am currently a prep tech at Old Fast Glass Rental House. And I'll let you know how I got that job. Shout out to Sam and Damo. I guess Sam likes to call me a great example of how these events work. I was here for all of 5 days. I'd moved from New York, and I had come here and was I got the flyer and everything, and I was like, all right, fresh off a road trip, packed a car, drove cross country with a friend, and was ready to start a new chapter and just figure this out one day at a time, and decided to come to the last event and connected with a few people. They gave me advice, and that's how I ended up landing my job. But yeah, so shout out to you guys. Really just seeing how this whole thing unfolds right before my very eyes. So definitely blessed to be in the midst of this great community. My question to you, you're a union operator. How do you market yourself and set yourself apart as an operator? I feel like as a writer, as a director, as a DP, stylistically, compositional-wise, it's all gonna be your own style, but operating-wise, people can be like, can I just hire anyone to hold this camera? Can I just, how do you set yourself apart when it comes to operating? And for any of you who have strictly operated.
I think a lot of it has to do with your DP trusting you as an operator. I worked on a job with Kira Kelly. Rachel Morrison was the director on this, and they both gave me the freedom to just fly and to find my own compositions, and they trusted me. And there was not a lot of they told me what they wanted in terms of, okay, we want negative space. They told me frame wise what the guidelines are, but I just flew. And I think having that communication with them and that level of trust allowed me to be my best self creatively. But I've also been on shows where there's a very specific formula, and it's you're gonna get coverage, you shoot the shot. But I think in situations like that, I try at least for one take to do something a little special. I'm not going to do a whip pan or anything wild, but emotionally, if there's something there, I'll push in or, but yeah, it's really difficult to dance that line, but I think it's just in communicating with your DP and I don't know, making way for them to trust you, I guess. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. Also, congratulations on your position.